All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make sure I'm live here. All right. Looks like we're going. Actually I need to get some water. So, I'm unprepared. I'll be back in like 20 seconds. All right, so I'm back. No, you're not cooking eggs right now. All right. What up, Ian? Oh, hell yeah. What are you liking the market action right now? It's interesting. I gotta say, it'd be. I'm not so sure what I think about the Ethereum Bitcoin dynamic right now with Bitcoin being a little bit lackadaisical. Yeah, yesterday's action was really good across the whole market. I wish Bitcoin was a little better, but in reality, thinking about it, Bitcoin just has to be stable more than it has to be, extremely bullish. And Bitcoin's pretty stable. Yesterday was a good day. In reality, for BTC, at least, it was pretty much one candle. You could argue yesterday was a flag, and then we failed that flag. So no major harm. VA tools in a good spot. I mean, RSI can do anything. You're sitting here at 47, so could look a little bit like a head and shoulders pattern, which would be not so hot. If we were to get that, we got a little bit above there, sold off, came back. Now we have a neckline. I didn't really see that until right now. So let's get rid of some of these and maybe we can. This one's been done. This one's been done. So yeah, maybe we'll do something like that. But this could be a good rally right here, especially given what Ethereum did yesterday and some of these altered, did yesterday. My newsletter is pretty thick today, so we do have a few different things to go over. Let me pull up my newsletter real quick and pull in chat again. All right, there we go. Going through port trafficking files yesterday. Port tracking, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And at least in relation of what it has to do with trading in crypto. Oh, portfolio tracking. Gotcha. You typed all the other words really well. That's the one you skimped on. That's funny. Um, what do we got going on here? A little bit elevated, bit of a doji, slightly high volume, nothing crazy. Yeah, so we'll see how we do this weekend. Um, but even if BTC does do a head and shoulders, if you view it symmetrically, that puts us out another 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So maybe that'll allow for a pretty good rally right now. So we've definitely lived under this trend line now. So this really isn't doing us any good at the moment. We didn't really break it in a bad way. We also didn't really break it in a nonchalant way either. We did have some higher volume on the day that we broke. It didn't slice through it. It was just kind of a daily adjustment there. So I'm not hating the trend line break. Wishing we had support, but obviously that didn't happen. So I'm going to leave it up there, but I think it probably could be gotten rid of. These are the tricky parts when it comes to trend lines and the pi method and things like that. Where what do you do when it's kind of just a normal? I mean, it was slightly above average on the break. We haven't really gone anywhere. We also haven't come back to it. So we come up and fail it, maybe make a right shoulder. That could be a little bit worse for where. We'll see if we get that. But these moves up really haven't been that dramatic the past couple of attempts. We got this one here, which is pretty good. This one there didn't really go over the prior high that much, but the retest bounce here was pretty good. Volume was minimal though, and the VA tool tells that story. You zoom out, you really don't see anything special going on here. we're pretty neutral in terms of volume, which doesn't bode well for massive rallies. So I think that's really what's going on here. September dump? Oh, maybe. Yeah, it's possible. That's actually kind of what this chart implies. September 10th is kind of the middle of this. Um, yeah, so maybe we rally up to here. People see us at highs again. We dump again, and that puts the third nail in the coffin for the whole thing. With a horizontal neckline here, and actually, if that is the case, then maybe we'll end up with a pretty standard measured move down to the other trend line. Interesting. And that's when things will get interesting. See how that guy plays out. So, BTC is painting a picture for us. Right now, it's not a great picture. And I didn't notice this until I was just doing the show now. So I don't have this in the newsletter. Um, Obviously, this is going to take longer than one candle to get down here. So, it takes a few weeks, maybe a month. It'll be under the trend line by the time that happens. And that particular trend line is an oldie and it's been adjusted once. And it's not too far off from this other very, very primary trend line. And you break that, and the game's just over. Period. Just over. This one definitely puts the game in danger, breaking this trend line. Yeah, so can't say I'm a big fan of what's going on here, at least in the BTC sphere. Not a fan. Especially after kind of what we just went through for the past, I don't know, 5, 6 minutes. So maybe a head and shoulders, maybe a move down. That would be about where the 200-day moving average would be. We'll see. That's really all we can say about that is that we'll see. There's really nothing definitive here, but especially on lower volume, if this gives a good volume signature, if you take this candle out of the picture, which is a nice support candle, you're left with this as basically, your high volume level, which is obviously a higher volume level than this peak, and even multiple candles in that area. And this is just one or two candles. So if we rally up on lower volume, and that's really what a head and shoulders pattern portrays. It portrays attempts to go higher with lower volume. So that's my story, and I guess I'm sticking to it. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let's move on to Ethereum. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to parse out of this BTC situation. I don't know. I think that's enough. That's a big enough move that if that happens, just step out of the way, I think, for a little bit. If it rallies up here in low volume and you find an exit, you find things stalling, you find things not moving. Because I mean, this could spark a rally for a few weeks here. I don't see why it couldn't, especially in names like Ethereum. And there's tons of alts that look pretty good right now. So those can try to move up, have some moves that do some things, but don't follow through, right? They don't really get the job done. And that's, I think, what this paints right here, putting that in the context of the overall crypto market. So we'll see how that goes. Ethereum, on the other hand, let's get a broader view of ETH real quick. I mean, the intraday looks great, and ETH is up here fighting with these highs. The A tool, you can see the green starting to curl up a little bit. You see it on the volume as well. Nothing crazy, crazy good, but at this point, ETH's a pretty darn mature asset. And you know what? I wonder how much ETH they've burned. Someone's got to have a chart for that. 1, 2, 3, 5.3 million ETH. I'm not really sure what the total. What's the ETH supply? ETH supply chart? Maybe. Oh, it's flattened out. So it must have. Oh, that's 1 year max. I don't get 5 year. So they must have started some type of a burning program right there. I don't remember off the top of my head. So yeah, so that's going back 1, 2.5 years, I mean that's enough for Ethereum stakeholders to just hold their Ethereum and stake their Ethereum to run the Ethereum network. And so therefore we're not really getting a lot of distribution, which I think very likely shows in the volume signature here. So some more accumulation here is why this is rallying. Um, so if you're being paid in ETH, you're enjoying that. You're probably not selling it yet. The chart at least doesn't show that. So that dynamic, a little similar to a stock buyback program, if you will, right? Maybe, maybe. But I mean, the move yesterday was crazy. Absolute craziest move. We had a downward channel here. Pretty sure everybody saw it. Wasn't a secret. Um, and then we saw this nice tight action. That was good. And then really before we had too much of a chance to gather what was going on, you get this big move up. I didn't even know it was Jackson Hole yesterday, which is a Fed meeting for some reason in some place. But yeah, I mean the whole market just absolutely bounced. And so here's yet another indicator that crypto is influenced by institutions and in the general economy market. So there you go. There you go. But yeah, good move up here. I like this. This is really nice. Stability, a little better than BTC, which just continues with the downtrend. Volume's a little bit high there, but rolling over laughing there, Topher. Did I say something? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, chart-wise, this is great. I mean, this holding tight like this is excellent. Ideally, this just continues moving in the direction. So yeah, nothing really wrong with Ethereum here. Look at your RSI. Interesting. Kind of interesting. A little bit elevated. You've got a divergence here. I guess this was just that aggressive. And this isn't that less aggressive. I mean, it's less aggressive, but it's not a bad move. And so we'll see what we get here. If we get a nice move up here, your RSI will probably still not print super well. Oh yeah, Topher. Dude, I'm in the middle of a huge house renovation. I spend like 14 hours um doing the house. Not every day, but yeah. I this is not this year I'm dedicated. I'm really dedicating myself to getting this house done. So my trading is suffering. So yeah, I don't really keep up as much with events, but yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I was actually at the house and I saw the move happen, and then I'm like, what the hell? I just went to news. I saw Jackson. I'm like, oh shit. It's like, well, I guess that explains the sell-off a little bit. Sometimes you get a sell-off into those events. Um, so I'm like, well, that kind of explains the sell-off, and there you go. But yeah, I'm not. It's hard to know if those are manipulated or not. I always wonder that if they're manipulated. Um, I mean, because the institutions have to know, they've got to know. So the sell off into the event, I do believe market manipulation to certain points is a thing and it is real. So, but anyways, yeah, good move up in Ethereum. I think this is, I mean, holding tight is best. Obviously, moving up is best, but holding tight's really good. Um, yeah. So, I mean, ETH is best in class right now. It's a directional. I wish I had yesterday's percentages at the close. I mean, I have to sit here and do all of them. Was BTC so BTC about 4%? ETH was 8 or 9 or 10%. Geez, 14%. Holy crap! What a good day for ETH. Um, XRP kind of an outside day yesterday. Good day. Um, AVAX is coming up here right there. I go down this list, so I spend most of my time on Bitcoin and ETH. Maybe like 6 7 minutes or something. We'll get to AVAX. XRP outside day right there. Nice little bull flag. If you're an XRP fan, I think this could be buyable. barring if BTC doesn't drop off a cliff, which I don't think it will, but I'm just saying if it's stable and XRP goes, that could be a viable situation. BNB had a nice move up, holding steady. It is a flag. It's not my favorite kind of a flag, though. Maybe one day I'd like to categorize them. You have this kind of roll over into a flag. I don't like these gappy flags, like that rollover thing I was just talking about, but still looks like a form of a flag. And BNB moving well out of this triangle. You had some moved out of it, came back in, but the volume signature was fine, and then rallied back on up. So good stuff there from BNB. Solana doing better. I think yesterday, almost like 70% of average volume. No trade zone? We're in a trade zone. I mean, kind of like how I used to call no trade zones. I think we're in a trade. I think you can trade this. I think this is tradable. I don't think it's a no trade zone as I would classify. I would classify no trade zone as just being in chop. Like this would be a no trade zone for me. I mean, I guess if you wanted to short, you could, but um, yeah, you're kind of in an uptrend, so I really wouldn't be shorting anything in an uptrend. So this would be a no trade zone. This could be maybe looking for entries, and then obviously on the volatility across the market, um, you could buy on that. But getting back to Solana, it did have a nice extension here today, so that's positive to see a leading crypto get an extension today. They're not all going to do all the things all at the same time, but what you do have here is a nice extension, which leads to a little bit more confidence. VA tool looks amazing. Um, so good stuff here for Solana. Nice to see it kind of, it's not leading necessarily, but it's finally getting a bit. It wasn't doing anything during all this situation. Uh, Maybe it'll finally start to move up. You do have a horizontal here, which I don't have drawn. There you go. So I think Solana starts to get going. It's going to bring some confidence into this market, and hopefully doesn't deflate ETH sales too much. And then yeah, but Solana looking really good here. I like this action. This also could be buyable. You do have, this isn't quite a pocket pivot, but you come down on low volume. You got two really low volume candles. Then you move up. That could even be entry with a stop right there if you want to be very aggressive and kind of watch it. But if it gives up that stop, you just got to wait for it to pull back a little bit more. I'm not doing anything with it, but I think that could be a possible situation if you're looking at Solana, or just wait for a better entry. You're really nitpicking for something like that. If you really want Solana, and you really want to get it soon, that could be a way in. Not my favorite way in, but in these situations, sometimes it works. Dogecoin, good day up yesterday. Stalled at a prior high, a little bit of a flag. Could buy over that resistance if you really wanted to, but Doge really hasn't been doing very much in my opinion. Tron, man, Tron, not a big percentage gainer, but man, this thing is just solid. It's just been solid. We're still in the midst of this big old wick, and it's still getting the job done. You get these scallops on the way up, and now you have a cup and handle that broke out. Now you have another cup and handle. So this is just going through the motions, and they're not bad motions. This distribution that popped up here, a little bit ominous, but yesterday not as good buying. I'm hoping that we're stable up here though. Good stuff from Tron. Looks like this trend line can be extended. Get rid of that trend line. And you got a couple of little horizontals, which are good, or diagonals. All right, Cardano. A little bit of a bull flag here, one of those weird ones again. Out of the channel. Oop, no, we're still in the channel. I just tightened that wick up a little bit there. Pretty good. As I could tighten that to that close on the left. Let's see what we get here. Oh yeah, there's the channel. Okay, I had it wonky for some reason. But yeah, good for Cardano. Got to break out of that channel to do anything really that good. Hype, uh, chopping the good chop is really what this is doing. Hype really hasn't been very hyped since this Head and Shoulders negation. Really not much right now. It's going to need a big boost in something. I don't know what. Sui, good day yesterday. Outside day yesterday. Not really a pattern here. Not really. We'll see what it morphs into, but right now it doesn't look like much. Chainlink, Chainlink, I mean, it's had some days in here, but now that we've had more days, it's just kind of choppily moving higher. Support on the 10-day. If it breaks that, then you can't trust this trend anymore. So I don't know. It doesn't look as good as it did yesterday, I guess. I don't know. Looked pretty good over here on this, but just a lot of volatility. Now the VA tool looks pretty good though, so maybe it'll have a move up. Maybe some kind of three-leg thing going on here, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. This is a bunch of weirdness. Yeah, it's really not picking anything good. And to be honest with you, not every chart you're gonna be able to pick something good out of it. I think this is a good example. And let's say it blasts up for 30% tomorrow. Am I stupid? No, I'm not stupid. Still isn't much here. The takeaway from that is if you liked it, buy it here. Buy it on the trend line break. Buy it when the volume comes in. But now that we've already had a couple weeks of really big volume, and then you get up here, there's just not a lot of price progress. Um, it's hard to buy up here. Like you just see some distribution. And the VA tool tells that story here on the 2 hour. Look, buying, selling, buying, selling, buying, choppy. It's not really selling because you have that green candle in the middle, but you get the gist of it. So, it's not that I'm stupid or can't read chart. It's just that this was your best opportunity. When the volume starts stepping in, you start getting pocket pivots. That's your best opportunity. It's just tough up here to do anything wise. All right, on to AVAX. Someone asked about AVAX. Topher did. And another choppy one. I like the name AVAX, but the market doesn't seem to, so you really can't do much with it. Um, Maybe a cup and handle here. Here's your handle. You can probably just do this and show it to you. There's your handle. Trying to break out. And some distribution just stepped in. Maybe you can buy it on the bounce if you like it. There's a horizontal here it could be trying to get over. That's a stupid line. Oh, it's an inverted head and shoulders line. Which is still kind of valid, actually. This is the weirdest. This is just a weird inverted head and shoulders. And that's what all these lines are. Shoulder, head, shoulder. There's your neckline, which is an abomination. And then you have an extension. If it broke over here, which I mean, now it would have to break up here. I have seen something similar to this break up before. I've seen it. I can't say it's often, but I just remember like only maybe one instant. What up, Trip? Spot failures of positive setups and when to ditch those positions. Yeah, it's been one of those years, Trip. Yeah, I'll go over that in a bit. Let me get through the top 20 first. Shouldn't take too much longer, I don't think. I'm doing a little more analysis. You guys are, chatting, so I'm kind of trying to give you guys a little bit more here. But I've seen some of these work. I mean, they're ballsy trades if you try to take them, but I can't say they're statistically advantageous. I think they're just kind of anomalies where things work out, if that makes sense. So I think AVAX has a shot more based on this horizontal than on this inverted head and shoulders, but that's just what I got here. All right, Leo. Leo still tightening up, still flagging out, still may do something. It still is excruciatingly painful to watch this do anything. Hold on a second. My son has a question or something. All right. XLM, Bitcoin Cash. Oh, I really breezed over XLM. I don't think I said anything about it. My kid came over. XLM, downward sloping trend line broken. Volume, maybe a flag. Daily volume, not even to average. If XLM is a market leader, it's not painting a great picture. I do want it to move though. We'll see if it happens. Yeah, hard to say to buy off of this with a tight stop. There is that feeling to it though, but it's just super, super early. There's zero bounce. Usually you want to buy when there's some kind of a bounce and hopefully you end up with a good stop loss. And that's the other thing is a lot of times you're hoping for a good stop loss. And maybe I'll try to keep that in mind, Trip. when we go over some stuff. Do you want to throw a couple examples at me, Trip? And that'll give me something to go off of, and I can just kind of relate it to what you actually went through. I think that'd be more helpful than me just choosing some random garbage. All right, speaking of random garbage, Bitcoin Cash. Nice move up yesterday through the trend line. Got to average. Can't say it was monster volume, but you know what? I'll move the trend line because we are bouncing back up. Also bouncing off the 50-day. I don't think it's too bad moving that trend line. I think that's fine. Looks like a head and shoulders. Volume signature. It's tough when you have these interim high volume candles, but could be a good head and shoulders. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't work out. TON, choppy sideways garbage. Shiba Swap, choppy sideways garbage. Kind of tightening, not very tight though. So could buy out of this flag. I mean, but if you're really looking at Shiba Swap, you're not paying attention. H bar. Okay, nice move off of support. That is cool. One of those weird flags here. And we'll see if it gets above the declining trend line. I hope it does. Hedger hash graph has been behaving relatively well. I like this large consolidation. I really, really do. So I hope that works out. Litecoin hasn't worked out. Nice to move up yesterday. Nothing crazy. Didn't quite get to average. DOT, for the most part, sucks. Bunch of choppy garbage stuck in the lows. Decent day yesterday. Really good volume. Didn't break any ranges though. Couldn't even get above that. VA tool looks good though. XMR's been trash. And then Pepe. Back above a trend line after breaking it on no volume, so that's nothing. Gonna move this trend line because we got support on some good volume. So that's a good anchor for that support. I'll take it. And we're playing in between here now, so that's not too bad. Maybe a trend line break if you're interested in Pepe, but better fish to fry. I say keep it on something like an Ethereum or, yeah, pretty much Ethereum. Even XRP could try to get going again. Solana, hopefully that gets going. That could provide a good rally. So there's some other better quality names, I think. Failures and positive setups. So you didn't give me any examples. I'm going to have to think about that. Failure in a positive setup. Well, BTC kind of had one. ETH kind of. So yeah, I guess we can use this last one in BTC. Um, so we'll go back to this. We'll go to this peak because there was a double bottom that kind of formed. I think I got rid of that line. Yeah, it's tough. This is a weird double bottom. It may not even be a real double bottom, but yeah, until you come up with an example, I'm gonna pick. I can't think of another one that, off the top of my head, that failed. We've done a lot of chopping, but chopping is also kind of considered failure. So really what you do, and this is from Dan Zenger, and Dan Zenger, if you don't know who he is, Google the dude. He's phenomenal. 40K to 4, or 10K to 40 million in 18 months during the bubble of 2000. Um, what he does, and you can use this for any type of trading. If it doesn't do what he wants it to do when he's buying it, he's out. Okay, that's just a simple way to say it. Is that if something starts to fail the second you buy it, you can exit. It's cool. Just sell. And that cuts your loss immediately. Maybe loss of 1, maybe 2% if you're lucky. You don't you're not forced to you don't have to hold on to a position that you bought. You absolutely do not. You are in control of the buy and the sell button, and therefore you should take advantage of that. So, okay, but let's look at this technically. Like when should you buy and sell? So BTC, curling up here. You got some buy signatures, whatever those are. You got some volume coming in here on the breakout at 120,000, right? And boom, things are looking great. You get up to 122. You got a 1% move. Go to the next candle. That candle's perfectly fine, nothing wrong there. It's a 2 hour time frame. Take it whatever time frame you trade on, you can juxtapose this to your time frame. That candle, definitely sell on that candle. No, I'm just kidding. That candle's fine too. I got no issues with that candle. And it's low volume. It's almost half of even the candle prior to it. No major range difference. Goes down a little bit, doesn't matter. Next candle, no difference there, just consolidating. And you have this candle. You don't like this candle because you would hope that a real breakout would not retest, but quite a few do retest, so you're still not even mad at it by this stage of the game. And on this candle scares you a little bit because it undercuts your buy point of 120, give or take, but you likely have a stop loss on, and if you're being a little patient, you notice the support by the end of the candle, so that's good. And that's a pretty decent candle. Can't say it's amazing. That one is a little bit of a failure, and you just kind of keep telling the story. By the time you get to here, you've you've tried to go higher here, you've rejected again. You could start to think about exiting right there. And if you bought at 120, let's just say you bought it here, bought a little bit high, you're only down 1.5, 1.6%. If you're feeling nervous, um, you can just exit. I mean, it's not really a big problem, right? And so then it chops, it goes down. Now you form a bear flag. At this point, you're a little happy you sold. Okay, let's just be honest. You're happy you sold, no problems. Um, if you're still holding on to it, you don't have that many problems because it really hasn't moved down that much more. But you do see a bear flag now. So what do you do? Okay, I got a bear flag. My breakout failed. I'm in a bear flag. My volume, there's not a lot of support. There's some support. My VA tool looks okay. So you can decide to make a choice here to hold. Um, Another thing too is you should have identified your stop loss when you entered this trade. Okay, so if it's already been triggered, you're already out. If it's here and you're a little bit underneath of it, you're probably still holding. All right, so your rules should guide you a little bit here as well. Go on a couple more candles. Now you get a pop back up to the 120. Bit of a rejection, bit of a failure, but the flag is still intact. You haven't actually rolled over. So, if you're still in the position, if you haven't been stopped out yet, by now you're you're happy because it popped. You're a little dejected because it came back, but hasn't broken yet, right? And now you're happy you stayed in the trade. Or if you exited the trade, you have another decision to make. Do I get back in? Okay. And that's a decision that we all go through. I can't give you any amazing guidelines, to be honest with you. What I've noticed with me when I'm in these situations, it's 50-50, man. For me, and that's for me. I mean, sometimes I'll exit and I'll walk away because I don't sit at a computer screen. That's not how I roll. Um, if I exit and walk away and it rolls back up, then I make a decision if I get in high. And sometimes I do if the move's really good. Other times, if I exit or if I hold and it goes up, then obviously I'm happy and I don't do anything, right? So there's a dichotomy, and I will say I tend to go a little bit by my feelings. That's going to be counterproductive to what a lot of people say. But for me personally, I listen to my subconscious or at least okay, I don't always listen to my subconscious, but I like to think that I do because my subconscious is telling me things that my rational mind can't comprehend. Okay, I just and you have to develop that. So it's that sixth sense. And it's not something supernatural. It's your subconscious telling you a message because your whole brain's working on this thesis, okay? Your whole brain's working on this thesis, and you have to develop that inner sense of self, that sixth sense, and you have to understand it. You can logic your sixth sense, and that's what I do oftentimes. So if I'm in a position and get out, in a position, get out, that'll happen. I'll enter an exit position two, three, four times. I'm like, okay, this is stupid. What am I feeling? What am I doing? And then I juxtapose that with what's happening on the chart, and I'll make a decision. If the chart's looking good, and I'm chopping myself, I'm like, I'm feeling stupid. My gut's telling me this is good. I'm gonna go with it. Okay, that happens often. All right, moving on. Um, did you get in? Did you not get in? Doesn't really matter because these next couple of candles are fine. If you got back in, your stop is very likely under here or under here, probably under here because it's such a small difference. And then you're going. Let's see what happens. It goes up. You're happy. Now you're coming up to the prior high. Okay, you do it. This is a great volume candle. You have a series of high volume candles here. If you didn't get in here, you're getting in here. Okay, let's just be honest. You're going to get in here. And then that candle screws with everything. That candle alone would likely make me exit. Just saying. That candle would make me second guess me exiting. This candle may get me back in. And that's a little bit dangerous because it's pretty high volume. It's like the second highest volume candle this whole run. And you're not getting a lot of price progress upwards. That would get me out again, probably. And then it proceeds to meander down from there. Okay, so I kind of knew it was kind of a failed double top. Um, you know, was I projecting and because did I know this candle was coming ahead of time? No, I didn't know a straight up inverted hammer was coming. Um, if I didn't get out there or there, two inverted hammers, probably would have exited, you know, at least one of those four candles because I already know that if we can't clear this high, we're toast. Whoops. So if we can't clear that high, we're toast. And so I would have exited, I would have got in here or here, enter, exit is how it would have gone. So what you have to do is you have to be flexible at the end of the day there, Trip. You've got to be flexible. You have to be able to enter. You have to be able to exit and get back in. Okay? Now, and you only do it so many times. You can't do this 7 times. It just doesn't work that way. You can do it a couple of times, a few times, but you can't just do stuff. It just doesn't work. You can't hold on for dear life and hope the market does something. You are in control. You're in control. You got the button. Use the button. They're not going to take it away from you, so use it. Do I trade BTC different on weekends? I don't. I really don't trade BTC on weekends. I don't do any native BTC trading anymore, to be honest with you, Topher. I'm in the US. I actually do most of my trading in derivatives on the stock market. And in all honesty, I don't even mind holding over the weekends when we're in trend like this. I could get fucked one day, hasn't happened quite yet, but it's due to this fact that I'm pretty diligent about what I'm doing. So, what you got here? You got Ray. Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's take a look at um I won't post this on so this is a public stream here, Trip, so I won't post it unless you want me to, but I'm gonna pull the chart up if that's okay. You're on what's your time frame? 2 hour. Okay. Trying to line up with what you got here going on. Oh, right here? Yeah, it's this one. Okay. Yeah, I saw it. Thanks, Trip. Okay. So I guess I'm gonna have to post your chart anyway. I have to redraw it. Not like you're doing a bad thing or anything. Good entry. That's a pretty good entry there, Trip. I like it. So entry was here and your exit was here. I'm not even mad at that trade, to be honest with you. That's not a bad trade. You had a tight stop. Looks like you obeyed it. That's pretty good. Um, I mean, just like with BTC, I would, if you're expecting a larger move, I'm going to go to the 15 minutes to get more context here, I guess. But just because it's such a small time period. Um, all right, so got an inverted head and shoulders. You enter on a pullback, which is cool, and you let it hit your stop loss. So, I mean, that's okay. I, what I would Number one, what I would say is that understand the asset you're trading. You know, does Ray have crazy moves? Does it not? I would say understand what you're into and how married you are to the position. Okay, the point is to take a profit. Um, so in this situation, you don't have anything too crazy going on here. You've got that trend line, you got that trend line, and then you end up with a horizontal. So for me, I think you're looking at probably exits. Well, what's the percentage here? You got 5%. So this isn't a big trade, but yeah, it's just an example. Um, if you're in a profitable position and it stops doing what you want it to do, going back to what I initially said with the Dan Zanger stuff, you can just exit it. Just exit. And then you can wait for it to come back. I mean, at a minimum here, and then by the time you've crossed under here. So this one is a straight judgment call. If you want to sell on that one, obviously it's not guaranteed to drop. You're not doing anything too crazily bad here. Even on the 15-minute, your volume signatures aren't bad. Um, your volume signatures on the way up aren't even that good though. So you're in a bit of a breakout. You got yourself into a trade. It's working, and actually this horizontal is a pivot point. See right there. So what you need to do, probably Trip, I would say this is write yourself a little bit of a checklist. Is my position profitable by 5%? Just say yes. Okay. Well, if it's up 5%, do I want to take a loss on it? And it could be 7%, it could be 8%, it could be 10%. Whatever that, let me do this here. You could say like, so let's just do things. Let's say, I'm just going to use IBD stuff because I love IBD. So profit 20%, stop 8%, just strict IBD stuff. You're going to say, if up 10%, stop is break even. So in this case, it probably wouldn't have saved you, right? Well, I'm just going to list out some rules. If stops up 10%, stop at break even. You could even say if up 10%, sell on trend shift. Something like that. Because you don't want to give up 10% probably. And then you could say, if up 20%, definitely sell on trend shift. You know what I mean? You could say if up 5%, sell break even. Whatever the case may be. So yeah, maybe you could just. I'm just literally this is me just pulling stuff out of my ass. I really have no. This isn't. I don't have my rules written out like this. I just. But if you're asking the question, I'm trying to give you some kind of a framework, at least so you can rationalize when you're looking at something. Okay, so let's say this is your general thesis. Profit at 20, stop at 8. Okay, and if it goes above 20, you hold it. That's fine. But if it's below 8 for any reason, you sell. Any reason at all, you sell. And then if it goes up 5%, you move your stop to break even, so you're not losing money. And then if it goes up 10%, you sell in a trend shift. If it's up 20%, you definitely sell in a trend shift. So those are just some very, very loose rules, right? So bringing it back here, you're like, okay, well, let's say you bought on the bottom because you're awesome, and there's 5%. Okay, so 5%, your stops move to break even. Boom, break even. Goes. Say this is 10%. You sell on the trend shift, and the trend shift could be a number of things. It doesn't have to be the trend line. It could be the horizontal, right? It doesn't matter. The whole point is to exit with losing as little money as you can. All right, be a greedy son of a bitch when it comes to profits. Be absolutely be greedy. That's been the best shift to my trading. And I'm not a greedy guy by default. But man, in trading, you gotta be greedy. You gotta be ruthless. You've got to be ruthless with your money. Absolutely. So on this trend shift, this is me thinking about selling. Maybe that's the actual sell. By the time it gets to here and you have a bear flag, I mean, look at the volume on this flag. It's non-existent. No one's supporting this. And then it rolls over and your stop loss gets hit. So look, all in all, in a judgment on this trade, I think you did fine. You weren't up tremendous amounts. You didn't, go up 40%, then lose 6%. Maybe you lost like 2 or 3%, it looks like. So on a trade by itself, it's fine. But as an asset, understand you're getting into something that isn't. So here's the checklist, okay? In my opinion, Ray isn't a leader. This is a take profit trade, okay? You're just going to take profits. Your whole job is to take profits. That's it. So I'm ready to exit at any time for any reason, and I don't care. The second this trade is done, it's wiped from your memory. Okay. So for me, like this is kind of how I look at this. So on the other hand, like ETH is a leader. I want to hold this for a larger swing, right? ETH is a leader. I want to hold this for a larger swing. It is leading the market, and I will sell on trend weakness. Okay? So there's your difference. It's not even the chart. The difference isn't even in the chart necessarily. Okay? It starts with what are you trading? Ray is not a leader. ETH is a leader, and this is how you trade them differently. Okay? You trade Ray because you're bored, and you trade Ethereum because you're trying to make some freaking money. Okay? You trade ETH because it's the right thing to do. All right? You trade ETH because it's the right thing to do. So let's go to ETH. Let's go to ETH. I'll go back to the 2 hour. All right. So you can go to ETH. I mean, we can just pick an ETH spot. I don't know. We can pick here. We can pick here. I mean, let's just start at the beginning, which is probably down farther than I think the beginning is. We can use this. Yeah, let's go down. Let's go all the way down to here. Um, I don't recall. Okay, yeah, we can. I don't really remember what I was talking about back. Let me go look at my newsletter real quick. Let's see what I said on Wednesday, May 7th. You guys aren't going to be able to see this. I'm just curious what I said. May 7th? Oh, geez, that's a while ago. I may not have said much about ETH at that. Yeah, I didn't say anything about ETH on that particular day, but I don't always say everything about every coin every day. So I don't know what I said, but okay, let's just, let's just say we're on ETH for whatever reason, okay? Oh, let me get my chat back up in case one of y'all says something. Okay, so you're on ETH, right? And the same thesis applies here. ETH is, let's just say ETH has already defined itself as a leader. I want to hold this for a larger swing. I will sell on trend weakness. Okay, so it breaks out here, breaks out, goes up. Do you exit there? You can. It's possible. Um, so you could exit there if you want to, but you already have a good profit. So you're up 25%. You don't have to. Is that a trend weakness? Not in of itself. If you sell on this candle, number one, that's an option you have. It is the largest candle of the entire run. So yes, you can do it, but guess what happens? You're going to end up getting right back in, at some other point. You're like, oh, that selling was a mistake. I'm getting back in. So again, how aggressive with your selling do you want to be? Like, I don't mind being aggressive with my selling, to be honest with you. Um, Personally, I don't mind. Like, I could sell on that candle, and I'll be perfect. I could rebuy right here. Look, if I'm being aggressive in ETH, by the time I see this, I'm like, oh yeah, look at that. There's no selling pressure here. You can make that trade right there. You know what I mean? You can sell here, up there. Maybe you even buy it a little bit cheaper or whatever, right? You buy right there if you want to. Because what you're going to notice, if you really pay attention, is time after time, you'll see very tight action in flags like this precede more good action. All right, so looking for a trend shift. Maybe if I don't sell there, maybe you end up selling over here. Um, Again, ready to get back in, at some point. Then it kind of does a bunch of weird stuff. Yeah, so here's your framework right there, Ray, or Trip. That's your framework. And here's the important part. Period. Okay? And I suffered from this for a really long time, Trip. For a really long time. Right here. I mean, we all think there's a right way to trade. It's buy the breakout and sell the failure. And I even suffer from that. But I really suffered from that back in the day, where even if you're profitable, yeah, if you're on margin, Ray, you cannot, or Ray, if you're on margin, Trip, you have to be very, very greedy with your selling. Very, very greedy. You cannot afford, you cannot afford that pullback. Okay. Now imagine if you had those three or four and they were positive. Imagine if they were positive. How would you feel? You'd feel nothing. I'm gonna tell you right now. You would feel nothing. But eventually you will like that nothing. I'm telling you. It, don't search for adrenaline. Don't search for the rush of a 40% profit. You're going to get those, okay? But in between, if you can take a few 3 or 4% losses and a few 3 or 4% gains, you'll be like, "Oh, wow, I'm solid. This is good." And that feeling, Trip, is what you want. That is what you want, okay? See, we're all humans. We're all ruled by our emotions, whether we think we are or not, even in our trading. So from that perspective, um, try to feel the right things. And I didn't know it until I felt it, and no one really explained it to me in that way. I mentioned earlier about listening to my sixth sense and stuff like that. When I look at my account and I'm trading like garbage, right? I'm just like, oh, man, I'm just not in tune with the market. And I want you to notice I'm saying I'm not in tune with the market, not the market sucks. Okay, there's a difference. Difference is the market, and I'm in control of my actions. So if I notice that I'm just doing a bunch of dumb stuff and my accounts break even, or I've only lost 2, 3, 4, 5%, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like I'm very happy about that because I know one day I'm going to get it right, and that one trade's going to make my account go up 30, 40, 50, 100%, whatever the case may be, right? So that's that's where you want to get to. Okay? You're doing some right things. Your entry here is gorgeous. There's nothing wrong with your exit. Your problem is that you're trying to hold for too much. So take this profit. Once it starts to roll over and lose weakness, understand Ray isn't a leader. This is a take profit trade. My whole job is to take profit. So next time you're in that position, Trip, just do this for me. Do this for me. Just practice selling. Just practice it. Okay? Don't consider it a trade, consider it practice. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Stephen Curry, all these guys that shoot hundreds, thousands of shots a day. I'm a basketball fan. If you can't tell, you know what they do? They just practice. It's the same shot in the practice as in the game, but they don't only do stuff in the game. They practice the same court. It's the same ball. There's just less people involved, right? So just practice it. That's all you got to do. And you can have it with less money. You can have it with the same position size. However you want to do it, just do it. Okay? When you're up and it's rolling over, just practice selling. Just practice it. That's it. That's all you got to do. What you're going to find is eventually you will, and you probably already have some of this, Trip. I mean, knowing you probably already got some of this. You already know what to do and when to do it. You're just holding yourself back. You're forcing yourself down. Okay? So don't do that. So the second you're like, man, this thing is, I hope this thing goes up. Man, this thing is just not, there's not a lot of volume there, but my stop hasn't been hit. Now it's coming down. Man, that doesn't look good, does it? No. Well, but my stop's down there. I gotta let it go. No, just fucking sell the thing. You can do that. You can do that, Trip, especially if the market's in a weird spot, because we're all trading with the backdrop of the general market trend, right? So let's look at where this trade took place. Okay, it's on a trend line. It's on a daily trend line at that. Like you're trading this directly on a daily trend line break, on a bounce, and then it rolls back over again. It's already rolled over big once, and we just saw that with that other example that I gave you, right? You saw it with the Bitcoin, yeah, Bitcoin. Remember, it popped up, it rolled over, and then it popped up and it rolled over again. This is the same thing. Popped up, rolled over, popped up, gave you a downtrend, popped up on weak volume. I mean, this is a ballsy trade to begin with. This is a garbage trade to begin with. In that context, right? I think your entry was pretty solid in terms of, this, but in terms of this, I don't think it's the wisest trade you could have taken that day. Okay. So, but you found it and that's fine. But you have to notice that this pivot point, it broke out. So you got in a great spot. It broke the pivot point, came back in the pivot point. Trip, it's a pivot point. It's telling you to sell. Right there, Trip. It says sell me. It's a pivot point. Sell me. So, yeah, that's it. You have to understand where your support is, where your resistance is, when your volume's coming in, how your volume's coming in, what's the backdrop to the trade? Oh, a big ass tall topping candle that you're nowhere near, and now it's rolling over underneath the pivot point. So you have to take that, take this checklist over here and say, oh, what's the backdrop to this story? And what do I want to be written? If what I want to be written doesn't happen, sell. Okay? So you just have to practice selling with all that context in mind. Like, look at the backstory. You're in the smallest volume trade, which means that anything can kill this trade, and anything did kill this trade. This is anything. It's not something. It's just a thing. It's an outside bar at the top on the 2-hour time frame. Outside bar at the top. Forget this trend line. That's for the 15-minute. But look at this. Swing failure all the way back down. Outside bar. You have another one there. You're like by right now this trend is in jeopardy. And your volume isn't giving you anything. This is telling you nothing at all. Your VA tool's slightly green. Is it really green? No, not really. I mean, it's garbage. It's nothing. You participated in the pocket pivots. Now you pocket your 2%. You walk away. That's it. That's what you do. You don't let it get down here. You just don't do it. Okay? Because the context of where you're trading is garbage anyways. So it's a garbage coin. Your job is to take profits and just exit. Your job is to exit that trade. Yeah. Your job is to exit. That's what you're supposed to do. So don't even let it hit the stop loss. Yeah. So I hope I've yelled at you enough. Yeah, the pivot. Yeah. So always try to identify a prior high, and the pivot comes into play with this. So yeah, let me reference that for you, because like you said, you didn't see. Let me just reference that for you on the lower time frame. And if you're in a trade like this, you have to go lower time frame because you're not going to get the minutia signals. So, I mean, you may see it, but I'm just going to point out there's your pivot, there's your cross. That confirms it's a pivot point right there. at least in my book, right? And then you have a little retest here that doesn't fully get there, and then it just breaks it. It just breaks it. So, and it also breaks the low of this trend. I mean, you don't get too much up here. I'm not, not saying you should have sold here. You shouldn't, because you're still hoping it goes, and it still could. It just doesn't, and then it just fails, and then it has like a little downward sloping channel here that fails. Then your pivot point fails. So yeah, at some point you're like, yeah, this just isn't working. It just stops working. So, but in reality, I think this is your backdrop trip, and it leads you into selling on. Let's just say selling on the pivot point was the right thing to do, somewhere around here, right? You got a good 2 hour or two to sell right there around the pivot point when it doesn't reverse back up. Maybe maybe you give it some time, and that's fine. You let it bounces here a little bit. It comes undercuts, comes back, but then it just never comes back, and then it even fails the failure, creates another pivot point, right? Drops down, becomes support, comes back up, doesn't breach that like just all the price action here just says this sucks. At least at this point. Sucks, sucks. Nothing, nothing, sucks. Rebound. Look at that volume. No one is interested in this thing right there. Rolls right over. And then you get this again. I mean, this is telling you 3, 4 times to exit. And that's 3%. You know? That's 3, 4%. Do that a few times and your account starts going in the opposite direction. But your goal, in my opinion, your goal would be to break even in all of this chop. If your accounts break even after you do this type of trade 3, 4, 5, 6 times, you're golden, because you can still participate, and then when the market turns up, you'll be in a good spot. Then you have to realize the market shifted. Then you can try to hold for the larger swing trade. Okay, and then you go on to that Ethereum situation. But if you're lucky, you're holding a leader, right? Because if you're holding Ray throughout all of this instead of Ethereum, and Ethereum proved itself the leader over here, tight action here, declining trend line here, the bull action yesterday, like Ethereum is showing you it's the leader. And so you really want to be in something more like an Ethereum and less like a Ray. Okay, if you want to roll into a Solana based off the action of the past 24, 48 hours, that's fine too. Something that's showing it's up and coming and is generally a good asset. Ray hasn't really been a good asset for a while. So just make sure you're swimming in really, really good waters to begin with, and then you will also have better results. So keep that in mind. Because to get the better results, you have to be in a better asset, not just trade in a random chart. So I don't know if if this is one you follow, if you like Raydium, because Ray had some moves back in the day, and some people were big fans of Ray, and that's fine if you keep that bias, but understand it's not quite what it used to be. Okay, once you can let go of assets and have that context of, okay, Solana was a leader 2, 3, 4 cycles ago, but it's not a leader today. Raydium was a leader, was a not a leader, but Ray was a good performer 2 or 3 cycles ago, but it's not today. You can what you'll eventually release those earlier and focus on who is showing itself to be the leader, and then you can focus into those, and you'll just achieve better results because the price action tends to be better. It's easier to read these charts. That's why I'll generally highlight leaders more often, is because they just tell better stories. They do better things, and therefore, like, just take this example right here. This, just this little situation right there. Oh, good run up right there, nice and tight. Remember the newsletter? We were tight keeping this channel, so that's good, right? And then you start to curl up. Here you have some nice flat bottom action. If you want to get in on that, you could, because ETH's the leader. You have confidence in this position. And if you're really paying attention, really fortunate, maybe you're buying here on this breakout right there, on that little breakout after 4 or 5 flat bottom candles when you have low, lower low, not a lower low, lower low, lower low, not a lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, not a lower low, lower low, not a lower low, not a lower low, breakout. That's a slight change in behavior. This candle screws everybody, but sometimes you just get screwed, and then it goes up. So try to be in the better. Yeah, try to be in the better. That's what the newsletter's for. At least I try to keep you guys apprised to, at least in my opinion, who the leaders are. And maybe, I mean, sometimes I miss one. There's like XLM. I didn't trust XLM to begin with because who the hell would, right? But eventually we're like, oh man, this thing is just doing its thing. And then now it's kind of like quasi leader. So I still try to keep you guys, abreast on it. And yeah, shoot me a question if you got one. But that's what I try to do with the newsletter, um, is I try to keep what I view as the best acting slash leader coins top of mind, and and actually I haven't even gone through the rest. Let's go through the rest of the newsletter today because I haven't done that. Let me go through those tokens. Yeah, one, two, three, four, five, six. So I've got six. All right, so let me go through these real quick. Um, and some of the, these aren't necessarily leaders. A lot of these are like if you see it on the newsletter for the first time, it's just because it looks good, and if it continues to look good, it'll stay there. So we've been on ARB a little bit lately, um, and look what it did yesterday with the market. Because we kind of identified it as having better behavior than a lot of other coins. You got kind of a descending flag on top of this cup-ish breakout thing. Like it's not amazing. It's not a leader, but it's exhibited better behavior. And you end up with great volume there. Now you have a nice flag to boot. So ARB looks like it's trying to continue with a good run there. Yeah, if you have that entry like right here, if you're lucky enough to, well, you probably would have sold it over there, but yeah, it's trading's hard. Um, that would have been stopped out. So, but yeah, this is doing pretty good. ARB, better behavior, good volume signatures, some pretty positive things happening here. ASTR. Here's one that's trying to come out of a little bit of a squeeze here. Trend line break and a pretty long-standing trend line too since May. So that one's doing pretty solid, good volume. Um, VTool could be a little bit better, one to keep an eye on. This is not one we've really identified, but it's got a unique signature to it. And the volume yesterday was like 200% above average volume. So and this action, since it started moving here, this is pretty positive. Hopefully that can keep going. Band with kind of a monster move up yesterday. I'm not sure why so much there. A little bit of selling there, but a good cup action here. Hopefully it can stabilize out and go up. Again, this one's not a leader. You see how choppy it is. Band's been choppy for freaking ever. Huge downtrend, a little bit of an uptrend there. That's a good uptrend, but that's a great uptrend actually. Um, yeah, so good stuff here. You know, in the base, lower in the base would be better to buy if you want to buy something like this. But these are all just potential candidates. If you don't like them, you don't have to trade them. I don't trade most. I don't trade a lot anymore, to be honest with you. I'm really focused on the best setups. I notice what happens, and I let everything go until something, one of those slap you in the face trades talked about back in the day. Ethereum Classic. So a bit of a play on Ethereum, as Ethereum is the market leader right now. But look at that volume yesterday, absolutely phenomenal. So uh, Ethereum Classic has had some times where it just rallies. Nice rally there, a little bit of a continuation there after some consolidation. So it can have some rallies, and this could be setting up for one. Not saying it's an amazing one, but FET. FET getting pretty narrow on the daily. I thought that was interesting. Fetch AI kind of had a really good move up here. Hasn't done a lot lately, but it's tightening up. And so that can lead to some good things as well. It's a bit far from the top. I don't know if it's viable here, but probably not. It's in the middle of this range. Thought that was interesting. And then Ronin. Oh, Ronan. Ah, that's funny. That's funny. So this one's interesting. I like the pop up. I like the bull flag. Could turn into a cup. Inverted head and shoulders on the daily, which is intriguing if it starts to go. So you have a couple things right now. Couple things right now kind of at play. So there's a possibility, but again, not a leader. Can't say it's going to go up super dramatically. And those are all the alts that I had. Ugh, big stretch right there. Time for some water. Apparently as you get older, swallowing becomes slower as well. So that's it, guys. That's it. That's the show. That's the Power Hour. Thanks for the questions. Good stuff. Good stuff, Trip. Hopefully that helps you out. Yeah, sticking with leaders is generally best. Um, if you can do that, if you can identify the leaders, especially identify them early, they'll tend to move. They'll tend to get more volume. They'll tend to get it earlier. They'll tend to move more. Their setups are more concise. There's typically less guesswork involved. It's just, it's good on all levels. Good on all levels. So, all right, y'all. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Let's hope the market consolidates nicely, and then Monday can move on to more good things. And that's about it. Any more questions, guys? Anything else you want me to look at? Otherwise, you guys have a great weekend. It's gonna be hot in Arizona, but that's gonna cool down. You're welcome, Topher. Not nice to make fun of someone because I didn't know about Jackson Hole, though. Come on, man. Everybody can't know everything. Yeah, I didn't know about Jackson Hole, though. I take that back. I think I heard about it. I just didn't know when it was. I didn't really care. But the market moved on it, so um, yeah. So let's go back to that for a second. Actually, I wrote something about this in the newsletter, but I didn't really say it. When you get those types of events, let's go to the indexes for a second. When you get these kinds of events, yeah, see, that's not great. When you get these kinds of events, you're not always guaranteed to follow through. So that's the other thing to these types of events. So it wasn't an actual rate cut. Um, and obviously they're getting a lot of pressure from the administration to cut rates. So maybe he's kowtowing to that. Um, Teton County is the richest county in the country. What does that mean? What's Teton County? I don't know what that is. But you're not guaranteed follow through. Now, this was a massive market. Look at the Ethereum up 30%. ETHT. Look at that thing. Um, yeah, you're not guaranteed to move higher out of this situation, but we did get a market wide kind of boost. So it wasn't just isolated. So I'm hoping. I haven't really looked at. I honestly haven't really looked at all these charts yet. Yeah, Reddit had a reversal, so Reddit's in pullback mode. Oh, is it? Yeah, I thought it was a rich person thing because I got some clients with properties there. Yeah. Why is the Fed meeting there? It's not really a Fed meeting, but you get the point. Oh, it's an economic symposium for central bankers, policymakers. Got yeah. That makes sense. Okay. But really, Teton County? Well, it's income. Yeah, I guess depends on the 10 real richest counties. What are the richest counties? Minnesota? Tennessee? Wow, that's interesting. Virginia, Delaware County, Ohio. That looks cool. I want to go there. What? Los Alamos, New Mexico, number 5? No way. Richest counties in the U.S. Douglas County, Colorado. Stafford County, Virginia. Forsyth County, Georgia. In London County, Virginia. All right. Well, Jackson Hole didn't make their list, but your point remains. Where's Teton County? There it is. Wyoming. And they have a picture of an old barn. That's funny. Yeah, it's a picture of an old barn. Anyway. All right, guys. So, yeah, I mean, we're not guaranteed to go higher. Gold had a day. Look at that. Backblaze? Oh, I almost bought Backblaze. I should have. Maybe I'll buy it on Monday. This is one of my trades I'm kind of watching. A little bit of a high tide flag there. I did not get it. Oh, look at the high flyers. Or these are quantum stocks. Sorry, not high flyers. Rigetti IonQ came back off the 200-day bounce. ETHE, Iran, big ones. Webull. Oh, that was the day I missed it. I didn't even think about it. Look at that low. And you know what? Damn it. That was the day. That's a test day. That is a test day on Webull. Darn it. That's very positive. Webull to 33.76, 33.65-ish. 33-ish. You heard it here first. Maybe. I don't know. It's just a target. Doesn't mean much. All right, guys. Hopefully the market keeps going. You guys have a good day. Stay safe out there. I will see you guys when I see you. Bye-bye.